Total production budget, $363 million. So the amount of actual production budget allocated to Ohio, according to this, is roughly 10%. It might have been a lot higher because they're saying here the total production budget, 36.3. That's not a filing in Ohio. That's an application saying we think this is what we're going to spend. We had this earlier. James Gunn dismissed the $363 million Superman budget as false. Now a THR source says it's real. And this was back in June of this year, okay? And he said the leaked budget for the upcoming Superman, he swears it's $130 million cheaper than what the government filing stated. Warner Brothers and DC have been telling the press the film's budget was $225. However, if you recall an article published last year in the Columbus Business Journal, that's from Ohio, citing data from the official Ohio motion picture tax credit website, okay, Superman actually cost $363 million. Now, the problem is if you go to this thing, okay, they don't have a link right to the report. You've got to dig around for it. And then you also have to look at how Ohio actually asks for the data. Again, the UK we know is pretty straightforward, right? One movie, one production entity. There are sometimes exceptions to that rule. And we saw that happen with seasons 1 and 2 of Andor, for example. We saw that happen with, I think, the last 2 Jurassic World movies, Dominion and Fallen Kingdom, were, I think, excuse me, some of it housed under the same production entity. There's something there. I kind of remember kind of looking through this before, trying to find it, but again, I'll dig through it. But they've come out and said that number's actually not real. He said 130 million less. Again, some of that doesn't account for film tax credits, which is not going to get it down by a full third typically. But again, we don't know what else was included in there. I mean, unless there's an actual report, like a filed tax document, I'll look it up. I know. We'll get there, kids. This is what came from the Ohio system. I think I have seen this one before. Ohio motion picture tax application. Okay. This is not a report. This is an application. Production company S&K, project title Genesis. This would be the production entity or the code name for the Superman movie. Date of submission 11/27/23. Now, probably we had production in play before then. That's not that long ago. That's like a year and a half ago that this was filed. Filed from S&K Pictures, okay? And it's not going to let me advance it in the field. Let me get to the next one here. So you've seen that setup, but it says motion picture application. Now let me show you the difference here because we've never looked at applications before because applications are just that. They're applications. They're not actual reports.
Yeah, those are
okay.
Estimates, basically, of what they'd like when you first submit the paperwork.
Right. This is a submission for film tax credit application before you've done anything. This isn't an actual report. And a lot of times companies will come in and wave, big dick numbers in front of states like this to show, hey, we're going to be spending all this. So, because remember, every year, and this is a key thing, I can't speak for the UK, but I can tell you for here in the States, Louisiana, Ohio, I'm sure, Georgia's the same way. They have a finite amount of film tax credits that they issue every fiscal year. So when you apply, which this is an application, when you apply, more often than not, you will see some companies like this, especially with larger productions, will go in way overshooting things deliberately to try to secure as much of that limited film tax credit as possible. That doesn't mean they're going to get it all because then they actually have to submit receipts later on. Okay. We don't have any receipts for this. Ohio doesn't show us those receipts. They just show us applications. So you come down here, you see date Ohio production offices expect to be operating April 1st of 24, which would have been the estimated time that maybe pre-production on this film would have started or principal photography in the state of Ohio. Okay. Last production date in Ohio, August 23rd. Remember, they didn't film everything in Ohio either. So this is just one part of it. And it gives you a breakdown, the estimated number of production days in each format. Pre-production or prep, 133 days. You're talking about scouting locations. You're talking about, rehearsals for the camera crew. How are they going to get the shots? Building sets if they have to, or if they're doing it on a sound stage, blah, blah, blah. Actual days of shooting, 37. Wrap up, 31 to clear out. Total 200 days in Ohio. Total percentage of production being shot in Ohio, right at 25%. Now, just like the UK, right, the state of Ohio does have a threshold by which you have to shoot so much of your production. You have to spend so much of your production in the state to be eligible for whatever film tax credits that they offer. In the UK, it's kind of a low bar. You've got to do like at least 10% of the production in the UK in order to get UK film tax credits on the portion of the production that you do there. In Ohio, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It might be 25% of your production has to be there. No idea. Projected number of Ohio residents hired. And then you go down here. All right, this is the crux. Total eligible production expenditures in the state of Ohio is what they're thinking. This is key. This is why this number is probably almost positively not right. Again, this is an application. This is not an actual filing of what they spent. Okay? 36.9 million. Now, let's say Ohio coughs up 20% back of eligible expenses. Okay? Let's say that's about $6 million in this case, because you don't get film tax credits for paying James Gunn or David Cornsweet or Nick Holt or, people like that. You don't get tax credits for those kind of expenses. Total production budget, $363 million. So the amount of actual production budget allocated to Ohio, according to this, is roughly 10%. It might have been a lot higher because they're saying here the total production budget, 36.3. That's not a filing in Ohio. That's an application saying we think this is what we're going to spend. When they do the filings in the UK that we read, Disney itself, the actual studio, Disney's accountants are listing out, this is what we spent, not what we're thinking we're going to do. And they have to file that saying, this is what we spent, here's the receipts for it, and this is what the tax credit we think we need to get back are. And you see here, credited 30%, estimated value of Ohio motion picture film tax credit, $11 million against almost 37. Again, these are estimates. This isn't what they did. So it's not the same thing as what we reveal or what we review when we talk about the UK reports from Disney. It really isn't. It's apples and oranges in that regard. If there is an actual filing saying that this was not an estimate, this is not the application for it, but this is what we actually, because look, movie companies will do this kind of stuff all the time for all the reasons that I just gave you. There's a finite amount of film tax credits from all of these states every year, and they're in the game to try to secure as much of it as humanly possible. So don't be surprised if a lot of these big productions will grossly inflate their data. And again, is there a law in Ohio that says that, like in the UK, you can't include estimates or expenses for marketing? Maybe you can in Ohio. I don't know. This is the point, is trying to compare this to other stuff we've done from the UK just kind of doesn't work. Anyway, all right, that makes sense. If y'all have questions on it, let me know. All right, I think that gets us all caught up. Guys, any kind of final thoughts on those things?
Yeah, the only thing I'm finding budget-wise, it's Wall Street Journal says it came in at $225 million. Is that what you understand it to be, or?
That was the data directly from Warner Brothers and James Gunn, was 225. And I think I said 200 in the video today, which was a mistake. Yeah. It's actually 225. So probably
still not 300, yeah.
Yeah, probably around all in 650 to 700 million box office would cover this film's costs between production and marketing. But yeah, 225. And I mean, look, they're saying that 10% of the budget was shot according to that
Yeah.
application. And that was going to get them about an $11 million, $11 million film tax credit. Well, I mean, if they're getting 30% back from Ohio, are they getting 30% back from other places they were shooting as well? I mean, maybe. And maybe the net cost, and I'm sure that's, the budget was the net cost that was coming down to around $220 million. Okay. Were they getting 80, $90 million in film tax credits somewhere else? I mean, I don't know, but we don't have the data. Usually when we see these production entities shoot in the UK, they're shooting 80, 90% of the film over there in the UK, if not the whole damn thing. Like we see with a lot of Disney productions. You got these things at Pinewood, Shinfield, everything else. They're shooting in Ohio. They're shooting in, I'd have to go look up the list, but they probably shot in a number of different places, I'm sure.
It's funny. If you want that lucrative California tax credit, it's 75%.
Yeah. Norway and Ohio. Okay, there you go. And I'm sure
that makes sense.
I'm sure they did some things elsewhere. I'm sure they did some things like some of the stuff might have been on sound stages in California for all I know. I mean, but yeah, the application issue is what bugs me, because that's not an actual report.
I would love to know what kind of tax incentives Norway is giving, because it's got to be expensive to fly all the way out to Norway instead of just doing it in your own,
well, my guess is
in Hollywood. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, look, the last 2 or 3 Mission Impossible movies had some big shots out there. Norway's getting popular. And I think part of it's because of the landscape. I mean, you think of it this way. If you have a lot of major Hollywood productions that are being filmed in the UK regularly, once you got everything over there, how much harder is it to just get on a plane and hop over to Norway and do some on-location shooting there? You're already across the pond. Let's be honest. So, I mean, it's not that much more, I would bet.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.